On this week's Bet the Process podcast, we have Adam Levitan I'm about to say from the Bet the Process, no, from the Establish the Run service, and we also talk a little bit of recap on the college football championship. And I quote a lot of lines incorrectly, and so with that, let's start the process. Welcome to another episode of the Bet the Process podcast, where Rufus is in Las
Las
Vegas, and
Vegas, baby.
I am in the most wonderful place in the world, Orlando, or the most
Well,
magical part of
you know
the
where I
world.
was last weekend?
Where? Where?
Suburban Cleveland. So,
Why are you in suburban
not far
Cleveland?
behind Orlando.
Why are you in suburban Cleveland?
Why was I?
Yeah.
I was there for the National Squash League draft.
What? Are you in the league? Do you have a team or what's the
No, no. Eli's Eli's a owner of one of the teams, partner.
really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We're gonna have to
We,
talk
we,
about
we can
this
both talk
off
about
air.
sports team
Did you,
ownership.
by the way, did you see that Cheetah was on Risk of Ruin?
No, I
The
haven't
most
listened yet.
recent episode of Risk of Ruin is a Cheetah, and he did it because he heard Cheetah on our episode, and he was fascinated by the concept of a Mormon gambler, Russian
That's amazing.
gambler.
I'm definitely because Risk of Ruin is my
It's
favorite
good. It covers
gambling
the Crawley
podcast by a
Town
lot.
stuff, and it covers Cheetah and his journey. It's good. It's really well done. Um, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and that obviously, if any of you guys don't listen to Risk of Ruin, you should because it's awesome.
It's a
So
fantastic podcast,
yeah, absolutely.
a narrative
Um,
podcast, I'd call it, right?
what's that?
Would you call it a narrative podcast? Is that the
I'd call it a good podcast as opposed to this
yeah?
one.
But it's like it's more produced than it's
Then
John's like
us? That's hard to
so
believe.
much more produced, right? I mean,
That's
that's
hard
my
to
point.
believe.
It's a different
Literally, I think I
style
made
of podcast.
17 when we got Adam on. I
It's
think I
not
made
people talking.
17 like preview that I make like 17 wrong assumptions about lines because I'm looking at the wrong stuff and my memory's shot. Anyways, college football championship thoughts,
Oh my
recap.
God, dude. Okay, my portfolio was looking so freaking good at halftime there.
You had under. I had under in that game.
I had a bunch of alt unders too.
Yeah.
and and I ended up getting like smoked in that second half. Like literally, I was looking at my call sheet portfolio, and it went down $200,000 in the second half from where it was at halftime. But Indiana won, which was nice, and so we
Did
still
you
took
have
home
any
the.
Miami position in the game? Because I ended up betting Miami. Like, remember we were like, what will I end up doing? Will I end up betting more? And I actually put on a Miami plus 8.5 position, so I ended up middling it.
My positions were kind of all over the place there. In terms of what my number was, it really came down to what you made home field advantage because Miami was playing at home, like a neutral field game there. I would have made Indiana minus 8.5, but um, a typical Miami home game there, it would have been like 5.65. And that was with giving Miami full 100% attendance there. And so I kind of was like, let's see, let's kind of estimate how much the crowd is going to be Miami versus Indiana and get that as sort of a rough approximation and then manipulate the attendance numbers to get a good home field. And
Do you
basically
think
doing
there was
that.
much of a home field?
Um, I, to be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention to the noise levels. I don't know. What do you think?
I kind of like was watching it out, so I didn't hear the commentary
Yeah.
or whatnot. So, but my perception was that like there probably wasn't that much of a home field, but I
There
have
was,
no idea.
I mean, there was a red section of the
Yeah, like
stands,
Indiana
clearly.
seems like they
I,
traveled really well.
Yeah, surprisingly. I would have guessed before the game it might have been like 75-25 Miami, but I think it was probably a little closer to 50-50 than that. But so basically I settled at a number that was like Indiana minus 6.8, 6.9. And and then yeah, like I was on some Miami. I had a lot of Miami like alt stuff, like Miami to win, like regard well, around Miami like winning the game or even winning in a blowout. So if Miami had like blown out Indiana, it would not have been bad for me. But
Well, you would have
and then
lost your Indiana
I was also
futures.
able to like I was trying to find ways to sort of hedge. in more interesting positive EV ways on the Indiana future. And one of them was some of these like pre-populated parlays on Kalshi. Like I had a parlay of well, I guess what was it? It was like the no on Indiana to win by over 7.5 and the game to go over 40.5, for example. I had a no on Indiana winning and the game going over because I really liked the under in the game. So I think a lot for me, a lot of it was centered around
I still,
that
by the
total.
way, even though it lost, I still really like the under.
Yeah. Well, luckily those pre-populated parlays were like used
For,
48.5.
oh,
And so
got it.
like
Yeah.
and the price was like accordingly, the price was different, right? Like so but that was nice that it got me some that it wasn't a complete loss there. And I
Do
still
you,
thought
by the
like
way, do you think that his decision to kick a field goal there was the right decision?
at the end of the game,
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Why?
Although I thought that the decision to not be more aggressive um on like on third down maybe. I wanted to see, I was like, are we going to see a quarterback run on third down? Like obviously I didn't want him to kick a field goal there for
Yeah.
my betting purposes with the totals, but like you know, I do think it. I mean, you have a good defense and you make Miami go the length of the field. Miami has a good kicker with range. Like I don't know, and I think you count on your defense there. This isn't, you know, it's not the NFL.
I'd like to get someone on because I think it was a really
But
bad decision.
what did you think of the decision to go for it on 4th and 5 when they were up three in the fourth
I
quarter?
thought that was
That was the one that
100%.
was.
I think that was 100% the right decision. The difference we've talked about the difference between a 3-point lead and a 6-point lead
We've talked about
is
that in the NFL.
why is this any different?
Well, in general, kickers aren't as good in college, so it's not the.
Yeah, but you just said they have a good like. I
They
mean,
do. Well,
I think this is
he's
no at this
long.
high at this
He
high
missed
level. I
he's
don't
missed a
think it's any
few.
different. I think this was a bad decision. Because and again, like Signetti is an awesome coach and makes the right decision almost all the
It was like
time.
4th and 5, right? 4th and 4.
It was not it was not a
It
small
wasn't
amount.
short.
It wasn't in short. Yeah, I agree that it wasn't in short, but again, and I think your point that you're saying is even more what I'm saying too, which is like he just should have been more aggressive, like on the previous plays. Like they got that second down, this first down run was for a lot, and then they got that false start, and then they like
Yeah, that
climbed
false
into a
start
little.
killed him.
But it killed him, or I mean, yes, it killed him, but
I
it
was
also
happy
like
with the false start at the time because I was like, if they can get a first down on third down, the game's over.
yeah,
Second down, it
that's
wouldn't
the
have been
same.
over.
That's the same thing that I felt too. And I was worried because obviously I was holding 8.5. I was worried about them
He
scoring a
wants a
touchdown.
touchdown.
Yeah, a touchdown would have been death because I would have lost both the under and the hedge that I had done. So yeah, I mean, I did you think that they were going to lose at when Miami started driving?
No, I didn't.
Crazy. I thought they were going to
I don't know.
lose.
I was sort of like, I mean, it like Miami had a few big plays on offense in the second half, but I kind of thought that I felt pretty confident with Indiana's defense there. I don't
Wow.
know. And Carson Beck at quarterback.
Well, Carson Beck at quarterback is the thing for me.
Yeah, I
I will be a Carson Beck hater for
and
the
like, I mean,
duration.
that was a tough situation with no timeouts there. I will say these college teams like aren't. I don't know. I don't trust them as much in sort of these like 2-minute drills as NFL teams. I mean, if you look, yes, there's more points scored in college and all that, and there's more quicker drives overall. But if you look at like how, like, for example, you could look at the score in the last 2 minutes of the first half props and stuff like that. In the NFL, it's kind of like guaranteed generally that you're going to get a score there. In college, it's much more like um, given the
That
total, it's
that
much
was
less
some
likely to have
Mario
a score.
Cristobal magic at the end of that first half, huh?
2 minutes per half. Sorry.
What he did at the end of the first half, kind of settling for that field goal and trying to manage time that way.
Uh, yeah, yes and no. I mean, like
Do you
it
like
was.
you like making sure there's no other possession there?
Yeah, I think teams don't do that enough.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because it's literally
No, I
like,
agree.
you know, if you score a touchdown, sure, but like, I mean, make it so give yourself a chance to score a touchdown if you can, but like also don't give the other team a possession where they can do something. I think it's more again, I think it's bigger in the NFL, and I think that Signetti got the ball back and was that it was. I think he was a little upset about the play calling, and it seemed oddly conservative there.
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed content being up 10 points almost.
Yeah.
But it's not like Indiana's a team that really is turnover prone at all. They've like lost one fumble all year, right? It's something insane.
Crazy. All right, let's welcome in Adam Levitan from the ETR, Establish the Run. Is there a service? I guess service.
EstablishTheRun.com.
.com service. So, and we'll talk to you guys all again next week. We now welcome in Adam Levitan to the Bet the Process podcast. Adam, welcome. For
Thanks for having
our
me. How you guys doing?
It's been a
good, for
while.
our 7 listeners, maybe a couple are not familiar with your work. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah. Whenever people ask me that, I'm always say, when normal people ask me that, I'm like, oh, I'm in predictive analytics. And then they never ask me another question. It's easy. The answer for this audience is more like, I founded Establish the Run or co-founded Establish the Run. And we're, hyper focused on player level projections is the bottom line.
When did you guys start? Because obviously, like that world has become very big now. How long have you guys been around?
Yeah, we had no idea. We started this in 2019. We're just, kind of fantasy guys trying to play DFS at a really high level and make the best possible player projections for that. Once sports betting and PASPA and all that came to legalization, people were clamoring for our numbers to be released for things other than DFS and fantasy, which, kind of took us off guard. And that's one thing that, I'm not really a businessman or anything, but one thing that I've learned from doing this is there's always something like around the corner. There's always like a pivot coming and being able to do that stuff, I think is important.
When
Have there been,
Go ahead,
go for it,
Rufus.
Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what have been the challenges in growing? I mean, I know we've talked about in the past, like, the problem, the difficult thing is once your projections kind of become mainstream and a lot of people have them, does that make it more difficult? And have you or has the expanding market due to like prediction markets really helped?
Yeah. At this point, I have no idea what people do with our numbers. Like, if you told me somebody's going on an exchange and making a ton of money on some prediction market or exchange, posting our lines, I have no idea. People have all these crazy PPH outs and who knows what else. Clearly, there's a huge cohort of people that find us that are very happy to get down 20 or 50 or $100 on a prop on some legal. And then there's a smaller but still significant cohort of guys or people that want to bet as much as they possibly can and aren't interested in anything that's up on legals. They only want to talk about what's on PPH or Builder or whatever else is going on there in props. But yeah, I mean, it's changed all that stuff a ton for sure. Legalization and lately the prediction markets too, I suspect.
How much does your work influence the market? I mean, we have the classic thing that, once you're good at something, you influence the market so much that it becomes not valuable to the people who pay for it anymore. Do you see that problem?
Yeah, I mean, we release our NBA full stat numbers at 5 p.m. and I think 5 p.m. Eastern daily, and I think relatively quickly the market goes to where we are at. I think it's less so in NFL where there's so many more market participants, and I think it's a bit more liquid, I suspect. But yeah, I mean, that's why we do everything on a week to week basis. Like, if you can't get down, if you lose your outs, if you think we're not winning for whatever reason, like just quit. It's we tell people all the time, just quit. It's only week to week. So yeah, but so like the main reason that we do all this stuff is still for fantasy and for DFS. That's still like the core reason that we're doing all this stuff and all this other stuff is just kind of come along secondarily.
So, I mean, especially with fantasy and DFS, like the distribution stuff is so important, right? Like, because you can have a mean projection that's the same for two guys, and the tails could look very different. And I think that's another source, especially with legalization and all these alts being offered by legal books and prediction markets. Like, there's a lot of opportunities there. And so, how do you attack that? And maybe we can even start talking a little bit about this weekend and having a quarterback playing for your hometown team, the Broncos, who hasn't played a snap in what, 3 years, something like that.
Yeah. This has gone way over my head. I'm not a stats guy like Rufus at all. We have gotten to the point where to stay ahead of the market, we need a full team of Rufus like people. So
You need a lot of people smarter than me.
we need a lot of people because the market, I mean, undoubtedly the props market has gotten so much more competitive and the fantasy market has as well. So we have like a 5-person full-time data side team. We also have contractors on projects. We also have like a 10-person team of quote unquote NFL ball knowers who are working on the inputs. What percent of the routes will Kayshon Boutte have this week versus Pop Douglas? What percent will Zach Charbonnet? I'm sorry, what percent will Kenneth Walker have versus will
Zero
George
for
Kalani
Zach.
play?
Zero for
Yeah,
Zach.
0% for Zach Charbonnet.
Damn, how do I compete now?
So, so yeah, if when I got into this, if you told me how much money we'd be spending to model and work on the sim and work on all the inputs for the mean projections that go into the sim for the distributions, I'd be like, we shouldn't do this. It's just too expensive and it's too complicated and there's too many people. But that's kind of I think where you're at now to stay ahead of the market, which sounds crazy because props used to be, obviously so much easier to beat.
It used to just be bet the under,
Yeah.
print money.
I mean,
Those are the days.
one of the lessons that I think over the last couple of years that we've learned on, or people that have learned on the show, is a little bit about this understanding of distribution. Because ultimately, like if you think about what Judah does when he comes on and talks about alts and things like that, he's implying that these distributions are not normal and whatnot. So how much edge do you think comes from that? And do we think that sports books are, because ultimately the theory would be that sports books are just assuming similar distributions for every player, and that's why there's edges or similar distributions. Like they're kind of modeling this in a simplistic way. Do we think that's still true, or are they starting to adjust?
I think they have started to adjust. I still think that the like some of the biggest edges that you find maybe are partly distribution, but also still like just recency bias stuff, and we can talk about that with the Rams and the way the Rams played on Sunday, which actually caught me by surprise. They went to a ton of
Three
three
tight
wide
ends.
receiver sets instead of what they did all season, which was multi tight end sets, 2 tight end, 3 tight end. And like, why did they do that out of the stone blue? That's like not something you can model, and that's not something you can model whether they go back to it whether they go back to heavy tight end this week. I think they will. McVay came out and said afterwards he thought he made a mistake with the game plan. They have all their tight ends healthy here. I think he was trying to get more Bears cornerbacks onto the field and therefore went more 3 wide receiver sets. 91% of the snaps were 3 wide receiver sets. But like this is the kind of stuff where I think the biggest edges are. Do you think that we should have Mumfield for more routes in this game than Parkinson like it was last week, or should we flip it back? And I think that's kind of where more ball knowing edges are, and then get that into the sim and get the distributions from there and find some more edges there and just trying to stack edges on both ball knowing and modeling.
I mean, I agree with that. That it like I was honestly, I had a really tough time modeling out, trying to figure out what the Rams, what the snap percentages and route percentages were going to be. Just given the fact you had all three tight ends healthy again, you had who was it that returned a wide receiver? I mean, you had Atwell playing the last few weeks before, and I mean, it was kind of like you had everybody healthy again, and it was like, is Xavier Smith going to actually see the field at all? Um,
Well, Whittingham played a little bit of a role that I didn't see
Whittington,
happening. And what's that?
Yeah.
Whittington,
Whatever. Tyrone. No.
Jordan,
Kenny.
Tyrone
Whatever.
Willingham was on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
Yeah, but wait, I mean, I feel like when I go through this stuff, I'm like, it's less like, oh, let's apply this decay function overall, and it's more like let's try to figure out what's representative and where there's like a shift, and it feels like so different from like the way I used to do it, where just because you kind of have to, and like you have more data at your disposal. Like before, when I was doing this back in like 2008, 2009, way back when, I don't have snap count percentages. I'm literally just like, okay, this is what this guy's season average was. We'll decay it this much, like for his, what percentage of the team's targets he got, and like I mean, it's it feels like there's levels of complexity that I still haven't gotten to yet that, I mean, you can look at defenses and like man zone, you can look at route types and expectations off of those. Like it's kind of there's it's an onion. There's always another layer to peel back.
Can we talk a little bit about that game last week with the Rams? Was that game more conditions or or Bears defense? Because obviously the Rams offense struggled to score in a way that we really haven't seen them this year.
What was
I
it?
don't think the Rams offense has played well for a while is the thing. And that I think that's kind of one of the reasons that McVay changed it up from personnel perspective. I didn't think the Rams played particularly well on offense against the Panthers in the wild card round. In week 18, they went all out against Arizona. I didn't think they played that well for much of that game. Week 17, in that Monday night game against the Falcons, their offense wasn't great either. So it has been a while since the Rams offense played well. So yeah, I think conditions played a factor there. Clearly, like you start stacking all these weather conditions, a little bit of wind, a lot of cold, a little bit of snow, and obviously it had an impact on the game. So yeah, I think they'll play much better here on offense. But I think one of the stories of this weekend is Rams offense maybe not playing as well lately as they have on the balance of the season, and Broncos defense not playing as well lately, or really since the bye, as they have on the balance of the season.
And Stafford hasn't looked particularly good at all the last few weeks,
Right.
especially for a guy that was a shoe-in for MVP.
Yeah.
Is he? Is he a shoo-in?
I don't know.
Um, my take is he will. I'm not saying I think it's like really close who should win. I think from an analytics profile, Drake May clearly deserves to win. I think that Stafford, people are like, oh, Stafford has Devontae Adams and Sean McVay and Puka Nacua. Well, in my opinion, those guys have Stafford. Stafford has elevated everyone around him for a long time, including obviously Calvin Johnson. But I'm talking about guys like Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. And like you get guys off the street that Stafford comes in and has some really incredible seasons with. So I think Stafford deserves a lot of credit for what the Rams did last year. But if you wanted to vote for Drake May on the efficiency and analytics profile, I'd be fine with that. Also, I do think Stafford will win just because like these voters, a lot of them just think, Drake May has another 15 years to win MVP. I'm going to give this one to Stafford. And I think too much of that goes into the voting, but that's like, I bet a lot of this award stuff. So I think of it through the lens of these voters are not thinking like we are about Drake May's EPA per dropback and stuff like that.
I mean, Stafford's trading at like 87. You can buy at 88 cents on call sheet, and there's been
Yeah.
27 million total traded on that market. That's kind of insane, isn't it?
Yeah. Really popular markets. Really, if you're good at this stuff, like those markets are more liquid than people realize, the awards markets overall.
I bet Philip Rivers not to be comeback player of the year at one point.
It's a good bet.
Thanks.
So going into this week's games, the Rams and the Seahawks going into the playoffs, if you had guessed this line, it probably wouldn't have been what it is right now. Do we agree with this line move, or what do we think about that?
You think Seattle would have been favored by more,
No, I
or
Were
think
you
they would
talking
have
about
been
the
favored
Rams
by
game or the
less.
Broncos game?
What's that?
Which game are you talking about?
Seattle.
Seattle?
And yeah.
You would have, I don't know. I feel like I thought it would have been somewhere around here probably. I feel like Seattle and Rams are kind of like have been like the co-best teams in football.
Yeah, but they played in Seattle during the regular season, and the Rams were favored by what, 3 points or something like that? So
I don't think the Rams were favored by 3 in Seattle.
yeah, I
the
don't
Rams
think
were
so.
favored in
No
that game, I
way.
thought.
I mean, how long ago was that?
That was week 16.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams didn't play in that game either. I don't remember what the closing line was on that game.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. Let me look.
I think it would have been Seahawks -3, but
Yeah, I think that the line I thought, I don't really look at sides or totals or anything like that at all, but the line I thought made sense to me from the perspective of the public is not going to want to pile in on the Rams after they struggled against the Panthers and the Bears, two teams that I don't think anybody's like overwhelmed by their qualities. So yeah, I thought the line was roughly right. I thought maybe something that from an injury perspective that people aren't thinking about too much on this game. Seattle's first string, second string, and third string left tackle are all hurt. Charles Cross
Ooh.
has a foot injury. He left the game early last week. Josh Jones is the backup. He was hurt. And Amari Kite, the third stringer, he got hurt. He's not practicing either. And then their best pass protection back, Zach Charbonnet, he's obviously out for this game too with that torn ACL. So from that perspective, like, we know Darnold struggles with pressure. We know the 49ers are incapable of pressure. Darnold looked good last week, I thought, on just 19 dropbacks. It's there. If I'm the Rams, I'm just going to blitz on like constantly here, especially off that left tackle spot, and especially without Charbonnet in there. So I think that's like a factor in the game. I don't know if that's how much that matters to the line, but yeah, I mean, I think it's at least notable that they're very banged up in pass protection are the Seahawks here.
Is the range of outcomes for Darnold just way greater than for this game than it would be typically? Because it's like and this is just anecdotally, it feels like he's a rhythm passer where if he feels comfortable, he can just pick apart a defense. But if he isn't, he can. I mean, we've seen it.
I mean, that is clear on pressure rate. Darnold is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when he is under a lot of pressure. I also think there's the whole narrative, which I don't know if you've tried to quantify, Rufus. It's hard, but like big game Darnold has not been good. In other words, in the biggest spots, Darnold has often melted down. I know, like for golf stuff, you've looked at like, hey, on Sundays, do guys choke off leads and stuff like that? I don't know how you would even quantify this really in the NFL, but that's the narrative around Darnold that in big games, he melts down. I think it's more when he is pressured, he melts down. And that's why the left tackle stuff concerns me at least a little bit.
And
Well,
I
we
mean,
said going into the
last week was a
game,
big game, right? But
what's that?
is it just being pressured more?
Well, no, but we said going into last game, remember we said this is a perfect situation for him
We
because
did.
the Niners can't get pressure and they tried. I mean, Saleh sent guys and Darnold did react relatively well, but I think when you have to send that many guys to get pressure, it's not that hard ultimately. And I don't think the Rams are going to need to send as many guys. Like the one thing we know, if you talk about the Rams a little bit, the regression has been offense and a little bit on pass coverage, but certainly their pass rush has still been there, I think. So they're going to be able to get pressure, is my guess.
Agreed.
I just rechecked it. The line was 1.5 Seahawks in that game.
So what are the sort of second order effects of the left tackle injuries for the Seahawks and Charbonnet out? Are there did the Seahawks do anything different to try to protect him? Are there bringing more guys like more max protect sets or
Yeah. I mean, they have not. I thought the trade for Rashid Shaheed at the deadline would actually be like a difference maker for them. I thought they needed someone like that to stretch the field and use him a ton. They have not, anyways. Cooper Kupp continues to run more routes than Rashid Shaheed, at least on offense. Shaheed has had an awesome impact on special teams, but not really on offense. So if they want to go to more two wide receiver sets here and get into more protection for Darnold, I could see that. Also last week, Darnold only dropped back 19 times. And I mean, they were all over the 49ers in this game. It's not like Darnold was tested at all. So like the big game stuff, he never really felt the pressure of a big game. They were just coasting the whole time. He only dropped back 19 times. So yeah.
Any thoughts, either of you guys, on the line in this game or the total?
I mean, I make it a little higher. I make Seahawks a bigger favorite. I think the Seahawks are the better team. Again, this isn't factoring in the injuries and the matchup, but I would have made it closer to like 4.5.
If you look at their two games, Seattle's moved the ball well on them. They've just had turnovers. That's been the issue with them in terms of so I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. Personally, the line of only being 42.5 seems low to me.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm looking at that last game. I don't know what this current one is. Sorry,
I don't have
46.5 is actually the line. So that is more representative. I still like the over.
yeah, I don't have a take on the line or the total, but I figured give the seven listeners a little bit of value. We have mean for Kenneth Walker receiving yards, mean we have 23.7, median 19.0, and there's some 24.5s out there. So that would be my favorite bet on this game if you don't want to
Under.
mess with the side and the total. If you want to root for unders in player props, which every time I tweet about this, people tell me they don't want to root for unders. It's too boring. But yeah, that's the best.
Rooting for
Who do
unders
you
is so
think
much better than
Seattle?
rooting for
Who,
overs.
Will Seattle mix anyone else in?
Yeah, so George Halani
Yes.
has not played since week 12. I thought that they thought Halani would be a decent prospect for him. When Walker and Charbonnet were both healthy, they actually gave him a couple carries, meaningful carries in games earlier this year. He's been out for so long. I don't know that they're going to activate him and play him here. If they don't, Velus Jones will probably be the backup. They also have Cam Akers. I think they want to use Kenneth Walker for as much as possible, though. And if Kenneth Walker got up to 80% of the snaps in this game, 85%, that would not shock me at all. But, these days, all that stuff's priced in. I mean, everybody knows, that Kenneth Walker's going to have a really big role here, and you get some outsized numbers on him here, I think, in the market.
Is there
Well,
any
Walker, I mean, I'm
worry with
looking right now at Walker's like his route percentage relative to his pass snap percentage, basically, and it doesn't look like he's in pass coverage a lot.
Yeah,
Or
I
not-
mean,
or pass protection a lot, sorry.
exactly. And so like anytime they were in pass protection, it's been sharp. They clearly prefer Sharp. I mean, he's so much bigger and so much better in pass protection. So yeah, it's definitely a story here. How much will Kenneth Walker be on the field in true passing situations if he's going to be asked to pass block or pick up blitz on some of them?
Yeah, I'm literally looking and like he's like Kenneth Walker is I don't think he's had a game where he's had more than 3 snaps in pass protection. Like that's yeah, Charbonnet is the guy there.
Yeah. And Sharp is the guy in short yardage, which, all the fantasy people know because it's very frustrating to watch Kenneth Walker shred and then Charbonnet come in and vulture. But yeah, Walker definitely a better bet to score a touchdown this week than he's been previously.
Is there any concern about like Walker usage? Because I'm assuming like one of the reasons that they've always been, tried to limit his usage is because of his injury and he isn't the biggest back. You have any concerns? I mean, he obviously handled the ball a lot last game and then comes back, a week later and they're going to give him the ball a ton again.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time in the NFL. I think where people like us want the dynamic player to play more and coaches want the success rate guy, the reliable guy to play more. I think what Mike McDaniel did with Achan is a perfect example. Like you wouldn't think Devon Achan is an every down back, can play 80, 90% of the snaps. Turns out that he can, and I think Seahawks will be willing to find out here on Walker, especially in like a one game huge NFC championship.
All right, move on to the other game. What are we going to do with Stidham? Are you a Broncos fan? Do you have any hope for this game?
I'm not a fan, but
You're a Philly guy.
I so Jared Stidham is Sean Payton's guy. The first move that Sean Payton made when he came to Denver was to sign Jared Stidham. Now, he saw Jared Stidham for a year and he decided to take Bo Nix 12th overall. So it's not like he was like, oh my God, we have our guy. We have Jared Stidham. He still took Bo Nix 12th overall. I think if you want to see what Jared Stidham is capable of, I tweeted a video of his first career start, which was against the 49ers, end of the 2022 season. Niners were playing their starters. Niners had a very good defense that year, and Stidham just shredded them. 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, took no sacks. That's what he's capable of. Since then, he's had 3 more NFL starts. I don't think he's, looked particularly great in any of those following 3, but has at least been capable. Like, I would call him a top 7-ish backup in the league. And I say that without a lot of confidence because he only has 4 NFL starts. Now, I don't think that Sean Payton is going to change the game plan a ton. We have mild docs on pass rate. We have mild docs on how many plays they will get off. But in terms of efficiency, like Bo Nix already was not the most efficient quarterback. It's hard to get lower on Stidham efficiency here. So I thought the line move,
Wait, efficiency in what way?
like all of the like completion percentage and yards per attempt stuff. All like the core kind of
Okay,
basic
so you don't
stuff.
think he'll be much worse there.
I don't. I mean, but I never thought that Knicks would be great here in that spot either against the Patriots defense. And yeah, that's another story of this game that like, well, I'll stick on Stidham for a second. Stidham, I also think the Broncos and Sean Payton will have confidence. Stidham was unreal in the preseason, like maybe the best quarterback that we saw this preseason for what that's worth. So I think a lot of confidence in him. I think he'll be competent. I think the line moved too much, but I don't have like numbers like Rufus might on what Knicks versus Stidham should be worth to the line.
I mean, I don't either. It's hard. Like, I mean, you can
Well,
have
what did you make?
priors.
What would you have made the line with Knicks, Rufus?
I don't know because I didn't make it, but I think I would have had the Broncos as like I would have had the Broncos as like 3 to 4 points better than they are now. Maybe a little higher than that. Like I have the
Okay.
Broncos as a below average team now
You
with
can't run your numbers for what it would have been for what if Knicks was
Oh,
playing.
I can. I just haven't. I just
Well,
didn't.
the
I
the
did not know that this would be the question
You
would be
didn't know
asked.
that we would talk about the NFC, the AFC championship game.
Well, I'm
You didn't
focused
know
on
we would talk about Bo
focused on
Nix
what's
being
actually going to
injured.
happen, which is Stidham playing, not Knicks playing.
Yeah, but the narrative that everyone's talking about is, oh, the line moved too much, right?
I agree.
In order for us to understand how much the line moved, we need to understand what it would have been, right? So the question is, and I think that's the thing that everyone's kind of arguing about, was this like, because it opened at like 5.5, 6, right? And it's down to 4.5 now. And was this, how much of a line move was this? If it was, would the Broncos have been favored by, 1.5, 2, 3 points. And I'm in this NFL chat with some sharp bettors, and they actually said they thought the line would have been even with Knicks, or they would have made the line even with Knicks. So then it's only what a 4 or 5 point move, which is essentially what you're saying you think it is, right, Rufus? The difference.
Yeah, yeah.
my take is that the line is not only due to the quarterback stuff, but Denver's defense has sprung a ton of leaks over the last really since the bye. And to me, that's the second biggest story of the game behind Knicks, and I think why the line has kind of moved maybe more than people think that it should. They got shredded by Jordan Love, by Josh Allen last week, by Trevor Lawrence. They continue to make big plays. They still have an awesome pass rush, but like they're giving up 5.8 yards per play, 5.7, 5.5. It's like their defense has not been lights out. And I don't know, man. At this point, if I was just playing this game real life, I might want Patriots defense more than Broncos defense. I mean, since Patriots got Milt Williams and Robert Spillane back, they've been awesome. And so, yeah, to me, that's like a big concern for the Broncos here. Is your defense going to get outplayed by Patriots defense on top of all the Stidham stuff?
Do you have a point of view on the game, Rufus?
By the way, Jeff, I kind of agree. I would have made it I would have made it Broncos -1. It looks like before, and I moved. I have a movement of 4.5 points for Knicks over Stidham.
Thank you, Rufus, for
There you go. I
sharing your
dug it up for
analysis
you.
with our
But I
seven.
still, so I make the number New England -3.7.
Right. Which way do you think this line will go? It's 4.5 right now. Obviously it came down from 6, 5.5 to 4.5. You guys see it moving one way
I
or
think
the
it'll
other?
go down. I don't think New England has been. They've yes, they've. Then now I'm trying to think about trying to remember the game last weekend, but I don't think they've been a world beater. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think Drake. Maybe I just had really high expectations of what Drake May would be, but I don't think he's played his two best games so far in the playoffs, and I could
Oh,
be very wrong. I
Well,
have
he
no.
definitely hasn't, right?
Yeah.
oh,
Adam, you probably have the stats, which is like turnovers and
oh my
yada yada.
God. He's fumbled 6 times in 2 games. He now has
Yeah.
14 fumbles on the season, which is league high. And you're facing a pass rush, which generates tons of sacks. So like he's aware of this though. They're very aware that they need to protect the ball in this game. Like Drake May should be much more careful with the ball here. Knows coming into this game. That's the whole key. Like, can I protect the football against the Broncos pass rush? Because if they can, I think that they'll move the ball fine against this Denver defense. I really do.
Okay. So
Isn't
you're.
that, this is obviously the key to any football game, but I think even more so, isn't this kind of the key is like Patriots avoid turnovers and Sam Darnold avoids turnovers, and that's the key to both games.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold's gonna have to make more plays than Drake May, clearly, but yeah, yeah.
What are any interesting prop bets or props to look at in the Denver game?
Yeah, I'm looking right here. We have some questionable stuff in the wide receiver with we don't know if Mac Hollins is going to play or not. Didn't practice yesterday, and considering the way that Kayshon Boutte's been playing, I don't think they should take Kayshon Boutte off the field at all. Now, if you want to tell me they should take Kyle Williams off the field, I'd be more okay with that. The one spot I think like the best way to attack Denver is with tight ends and running backs. And teams challenge Riley Moss a lot because he plays opposite Patrick Surtain. Riley Moss's catch rate allowed has been really, really good. Yeah, he's committed a lot of penalties, but catch rate alloud's been really, really good. So the best way, I think, and we saw this last week, Kincaid went off um, tight end and running back. So, like, one thing that I see here that we're showing decent EV on is Austin Hooper to score a touchdown at plus 850. We are showing $34.86 of EV on that. And I know people love the anytime touchdown bets. So, why not?
I love rooting for a backup tight end or second tight end to score a
Yeah.
touchdown. That's like one of my
Speaking
favorite.
of
I might
which,
even
Cole Kmet scoring that late touchdown for me on that incredible fourth down throw was nice for me. I had some Cole Kmet overs into score touchdowns.
Nice.
Got very lucky.
Okay. Anything else on the Broncos game? I think one of the things I think is interesting is the way that Broncos offense is designed. They do so many of those like short passes and like those like quick screens and things like that. And I'm guessing that Stidham is going to be fine at executing those. It's going to be the dropbacks that everyone's going to like hold their breath on.
Third and longs.
Yeah. And mobility. I mean, Bo Nix is sneaky, mobile, good runner. They actually call a ton of designed runs for Bo Nix. I don't think they're going to do that with Stidham. And I think that hurts,
Stidham can move a little bit though,
a
right?
little bit. Yeah. Not like Bo Nix.
He's
though,
not
yeah.
Stafford.
Agreed.
It was interesting hearing McVay's comments, or not McVay, Sean Payton's comments saying that he thinks Stidham's one of the top 32. I was like, that's not a huge vote of confidence. That's like saying he could be the worst starter in the league.
I mean, it's saying he's a starting caliber quarterback is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Like, are you really going to make fun of someone for
I
saying
read
the
it,
wrong
it's like,
thing?
yeah, that's not like my starter. My backup could be a starter in a lot of places. He's like my backup could be a starter in at least one team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Last thing I'd say on New England, if you watched the game last week, you saw Ramondre Stevenson leave for a pretty decent chunk of time with an eye issue and then come back. And so, like, hopefully people like Rufus, who are just like super data driven, don't see that stuff and they have the split the way it was last week. I think for anyone who was watching, once Ramondre was cleared, they went back to heavy, heavy, heavy Ramondre. And so I don't think my point is, I don't think last week's split is indicative of what it will be this week between Ramondre and Travion.
By the way, I mean, that's a really good point, Adam. And I do think, I mean, it's important when you watch the games to see like, oh, this guy went out with an injury for a few plays. He was in the medical tent and then he came back, right? It wasn't like this, like understanding the reason behind the splits. And
Yeah.
and I feel like I need to go back and watch like other games. I mean, and see. But I mean, you can find a lot from like Googling that stuff too, but
Yeah.
like this guy left in this quarter because when you're looking through like when I'm looking through logs of like guys, like I have a little chart in front of me so I can kind of like visualize it with different like kind of color coded and like I'm like this guy's snap percentage was way down, he might be 60, 40, like back to 60 and it's like why was he 40? Oh, he was hurt and out for knocked out in the third quarter of this game or the team had a 28-point lead in the third quarter. And I'm like, okay, they were probably pulling some of their starters. So it's kind of like, I mean, I think the tough thing is to try to think like, I mean, because you could have a game that ends up being a blowout. You never anticipate one of these games like with lines close to pick being a blowout. But like, I mean, again, it's like the whole distribution in the tails, right? Like you could have a game where like the third tight end gets looks because the team is up a ton or anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling on. There wasn't much there.
Adam,
I thought it was a great point.
we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the recent scandals around prop bets as someone that makes his living helping people do prop bets. What's your point of view on the whole idea that like I've heard people say like, oh, you can only bet overs, or oh, you shouldn't get the opportunity to bet against these guys, or there shouldn't be these same game parlays. Do you have a point of view on it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I wouldn't bet anywhere where you can't bet the under. Like that's just like a ridiculous setup. And so yeah, period for now. I'll say on the like a lot of people in our space, when something happens like Terry Rozier or Jonte Porter, they say, look how great legalized sports betting is. We never would have uncovered this if it wasn't for legalized sports betting. And yeah, that's true. I think people are kind of missing a bigger point, which is 10 years ago, I couldn't even bet on the ninth man on the Raptors or the eighth man on the Blazers. I couldn't bet their steals line or, rebounds plus assists. That stuff wasn't even posted on PPH or offshore, or even if I went to Vegas, like that stuff wasn't even posted. And now we also, not only do we have lines for all those guys now, you can also SGP them and parlay them together now. So I'm not capped at winning like some small amount by betting on the fourth wide receiver for the Steelers or the third running back for the Chiefs. So when people talk about like regulation of the prop market, I don't think we should, by any stretch, eliminate props from menus. I don't think we will. It's so popular. It's so much money for the states. But if you wanted to tell me that we don't need lines on the ninth man for the Raptors or the eighth man for the Blazers, or we shouldn't be able to SGP them, like that would, suck for us. But I might agree with you, and like I wouldn't have said that a while ago. I was like, man, the games aren't rigged, these guys. And I would think anytime people would say they're rigged, I would say you're an idiot. And now, I understand where they're coming from, because these guys, you bet a $20,000 SGP, you can make $1 million with the right network to get down and stuff like that. So I just think it's changed more than people give it credit for with the legalization stuff.
Did you guys see the indictment? It was how many people? Like 27 people charged, something like that, on point shaving in college basketball.
I
The last
did.
two seasons in China and yeah.
Did you bet any of those games that
I
turned
was
out to
like,
be fake?
goddamn extra games. Um, I'm honestly gonna like look. I kind of want to read through that indictment and because there are specific games mentioned. I
Yes.
want to see if I was on the other side there, because that kind of thing hurts me as a bettor, clearly. But
Yeah.
Well, but do you remember last year, Rufus? I last year was not very good in extra games for you guys, if I remember correctly, and I
most of
wonder if that
those,
had something to do with that.
exactly, it may have. I mean, it was those teams listed were almost all extra game teams.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, thanks for joining us. Good luck in your bets, and good luck with the ETR. You want to tell everyone where they can see your work?
No, yeah, you can just go to my Twitter, Adam Levitan, all one word, and that will send you down a path of, well, I don't know what it'll send you down a path of.
Path of
But
least
yeah,
resistance, baby.
appreciate you guys having me. Always a good time.
Thanks.
Bet the process.